Hey, here we are.
Hey.
Office hours. We have a great guest, the unbelievable Chief Cookie Officer. First time I've ever had a Chief Cookie Officer on the show. Color my cookie, Nancy Major. Welcome to Office Hours.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm the only chief cookie officer I know.
That is awesome. I've had Chief Happiness Officers, Empowerment Officers, but the first Chief Cookie Officer, which I think is an extraordinary title to have. And Color My Cookie, of course, ships decorated kits nationwide to allow people to decorate their cookies and feel like a true professional like you and your husband. For you, just real quick, give me a little bit of background. I know you have a question for me, but I was hoping, give me a little bit of background. What inspired you to come up with Color My Cookie, colormycookie.com? A lot of people have decorated cookies before and not started an entire business on it.
Absolutely. Well, I married into the pastry business right out of law school, and I met my husband, who is a pastry chef. And
Nice.
he told me early on he wanted to have boys and girls in a bakery, and we've been so lucky. We have 2 daughters, 2 sons, and in 2016 we bought a bakery, and that felt like a dream come true for a minute. And then when COVID struck in March of 2020, it became clear that we would not be able to survive as a storefront bakery. And so we took our bakery's most popular cookie, which was a decorated iced shortbread, and we turned it into a DIY at-home cookie decorating kit. And it's one of a kind because every other cookie kit comes with just plain cookies and icing and sprinkles. We pre-ice ours black and white, so it's more like a coloring book. And we send it with edible watercolors and sprinkles and icing and a tutorial. And it's just actually been a ton of fun, and it saved our family business.
That is amazing. And I know from being a recovering lawyer myself, that going back to practice law was enough motivation to make it work. So congratulations. You have a question for me, though, so I'd love to help you.
Yeah, so I heard you say last week that it's easier to apply passion to business than to build a business out of passion. And I've actually had that same thought 100 times since I started a business based on my husband's passion for pastry and my passion for customer experience. And so I'm wondering, is there hope for us? And I'm just curious what you would say to those of us who started with a passion instead of the other way around. What's the path forward for those of us who've already started a business out of passion?
Yeah, so I think the lesson to learn is that there is love, light, and lessons in everything. And you and I both went to law school, for example, and some people, like myself, were capable of truly enjoying the experience, to learning to love what other people despise or hate or dreaded or created angst and worry and anger and all the other things that every law student knows that occurs through the triggers of ego-based
coming back to me.
Yeah, not to give you flashbacks, about PTSD from law school, but moreover, I think it's a benefit if you do have an existing passion. So you can learn to love anything, and I want to teach people that you don't have to immediately have a passion for it, but it's an advantage that you and your husband have, that you already have a passion for parts of the business. I think the challenge or the perspective that I'd like you to take is that we have to equilibrate or create a balance between the parts and pieces of the business that we love. And you're like me, I have 4 kids, so you'll get this. Imagine if you couldn't apply your love and passion towards your children to all the things that you may not love about your children. And so I know you don't have to comment. My kids know me, so but I learned to love it, right? I look for the superpowers in my children, and I know that especially teenagers, are the dumbest species ever created by anybody anywhere, no matter if they're boys or girls. And so I learned to love the fact that at least they're not as dumb as I was when I was a teenager, or whatever else there may be to find. And so I think it's a huge advantage having a passion and then being able to know what that feels like and trying to use that as a baseline or a milestone for the things that you may not at this time feel or be passionate about. And I use my taking out the trash example because taking out the trash to me was like kryptonite. I hated it. One of 6 kids. My mom made me take the trash out. I was in a fraternity. They made me take the trash out. I had 3 daughters, made me take the trash out. And until I took a step back and said, where can I find the light, the love, and the lessons in taking the trash out? How can I be passionate about this? Kind of a Viktor Frankl approach of man's in search of meaning. I was able to look at the trash differently and say, wow, you know what? When I take the trash out, I have a few moments to myself. And any parent of 4 kids that's married and in a business, that's pretty valuable 5 minutes. And if you can utilize it correctly, all of a sudden you have a passion and a purpose, or you find the light, the love, and the lesson. So I don't think it's a disadvantage if you start out with passion. I think the challenge is you feel as if all aspects of your business should feel as good as the customer service, or I'm sure your husband with the pastry side of being a chef. You at least know what it feels like and how to apply that to the parts and pieces of a business that may not naturally align or be synergistic or supplementary to your passion. But it is possible to train yourself and practice it and shift. And as Wayne Dyer, one of my mentors, always says, right, change the way you look at things. The things that you look at change. Give meaning to everything that you see. Give the meaning that you want to everything you see. And I love your business. I love the transition. And as things open up, now you have double the business that you'll have. And you'll have a third type of value that you can provide from what you've learned during COVID, and apply all of that passion the most you can to your personal, experiential, giving and receiving parts of your life. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you besides colormycookie.com?
So we're on Instagram at color_my_cookie. That's where you can see all of our latest kits. We try and keep those pictures coming so everyone can see what we're up to. And then we're on Facebook at Color My Cookie. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn, Nancy Major, Chief Cookie Officer at Color My Cookie.
And recovering lawyer who cooks cookies.
Yeah. Retired. I like saying myself as a retired lawyer.
I'm a repurposed lawyer. That's what I like. So. Anyway,
Thanks so much for having me on.
Tell your executive chef I said hello, and thank you for being my first chief cookie officer ever on the show. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Take care. The incredible Nancy Major. She's the chief cookie officer of Color My Cookie. Check them out. What a fun time you can have with your kids, your family, and a great idea. Just everybody transitions during COVID. Find something that we can find light in. All right, now I get more back into from cookies to sports. There he is. Oh my goodness. I thought I had a guest coming on. Instead, I have Bahama Mama. There he is. Tommy Bahama has joined us. Blaine Bartlett, the mindset mastermind himself. Learn.blainebartlett.com. You missed the chief cookie officer, buddy. I was going to send you some.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I've been sitting right where you were a few weeks ago. So
I know you were.
That looks amazing. Anyway, we got okay.
We just came off the water. I was doing some spear fishing. It's I love being able to do this show right now, coming off the water, doing some spear fishing, and being able to talk to Michael about some of the stuff that Michael is absolutely. This is so cool. This is good stuff.
This is great stuff. And if you were with our friends that I know, you're probably feeling really good after spear fishing. And my Italian friend probably caught a bunch of fish for you. So anyway, we have Michael Schreiber. He's CEO of Playfly Sports, unique business in itself. Michael, welcome to the international show, Office Hours, from the Bahamas and from my closet. 2 different perspectives. Anyway, we certainly appreciate you coming on. Give us a little bit of background on Playfly Sports.
Yeah, no, and thanks for having me on. I'm honored to be here and excited to have some fun with you guys on your episode today. So it's nice to have two different locations. I get the we'll see how international. I'm in Philadelphia here. It sounds like we got Bahamas. David, where are you, by the way?
I'm in California, in Orange County, California, in my closet though. So
all right.
I have a different view than the one that Blaine has.
Awesome. All right, good. 3 different spots. So yeah, Playfly Sports. Well, let me take you through what that is. So we actually are what I've been calling the fastest growing sports marketing and media company that no one's ever heard of yet. So we are a new brand. We're We came into the market about 7 months and 23 days ago. So with the new brand, but we came in acquiring about 6 to 7 different companies, and we put them together into the new business we now call Playfly Sports. So we are basically the leading marketing agency for major sports organizations. We really go through the full fan life cycle. So we have one of the largest businesses in high school sports, which I'll explain in a sec. We have one of the fastest growing, and actually the second largest business inside of college sports in terms of the multimedia rights environment there. And then we have a fast growing business in in pro as well. So we actually represent all the NBA, NHL, and MLB live games across the ecosystem through our relationship with all the regional sports networks in the country, as well as a number of pro teams directly and college conference networks.
Wow. How were you able to acquire so much content as a startup?
Yeah, so really interesting. So my background, let me take one step back. It might be helpful to hear. So I actually spent a bunch of my career in traditional media, traditional media, entertainment, and sports. So I spent about just under a decade at NBC Universal. Actually, I started there when it was just NBC, cable channels. And then, over the years, we acquired a whole bunch of different assets and really became what it looks like today. But my job actually was the digital transformation guy. So I actually worked really to focus on addressing a lot of the new habits where there was someone using a phone, a computer, a connected TV to experience media, trying to figure out how to get NBC Universal into those experiences in the right way. So we had a lot of fun firsts in those years, creating new distribution paths for content, whether it's sports, getting 6,000 events for the Olympics up online, doing the first structuring one of the first deals around iTunes. Actually, the founding of the Hulu business was done through our team as well in 2007 now. So it's 14 years ago, which is a little crazy. But so a lot of those transformations and firsts throughout those years. And that's what I loved. I loved disrupting, trying new things, addressing audiences in new ways. So took that experience. We ended up getting bought by Comcast Corporation, which I'm still a big fan of that company. I actually got asked to come down and do the same kind of transformation work for the traditional cable model, where you see in your living room with the screen and box model, and turning that into a digital experience, so you can have all the same games, TV shows, movies, but on your phone. So I spent a good 5 or 6 years working to do that. So now, if you're a Comcast subscriber anywhere in the U.S., everything is available on your phone in the same fashion that it was in your living room for the last 30, 50 years. So that was an exciting transition. And then I hopped out, helped found a new company, cable and media company called Altice USA, which we built up over the last for about 4 years until I exited, but had a nice build out, bought about 11 companies, put that on the IPO'd that on the New York Stock Exchange in 2017. And then I transitioned after that to really focusing 100% on my own entrepreneurial efforts. Joined up with a venture capital firm called 76 Capital in sports.
The boys over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Wayne Kimball's a good friend of mine.
Oh, good, awesome. Yeah, so I partnered up with Wayne, and we really juiced up the sports betting and esports and sports tech spaces. So that was a big passion. Is a big passion for me, and those funds are going really well. I've actually had to step away from my day-to-day activity to get Playfly Sports up and running last summer, but still a big fan of those guys and try to help them out where I can. But that's been my transition. So taking all of that disruption and entrepreneurship, whether it's corporate entrepreneurship inside of big companies like NBC, or really breaking it out like the Altice USA build and my work with Wayne and 76 Capital. But now sort of going out and taking all that experience and raising capital from two key players to launch Playfly Sports. One was a company called Access Holdings. It's an investment firm based out of Baltimore. And then from Sinclair Broadcasting Corporation. So Sinclair and Chris Ripley, specifically their CEO, has really been bullish around sports and looking to enhance their their marketplace in terms of looking at sports, especially the sports from a local perspective. So they're my two investors that helped me launch this business, and they gave the confidence with their capital to me to execute. So, and I've done it, been a lot quicker than I expected, working with a lot of companies out there who were interested. Most of our acquisitions were actually non-core businesses of major public companies. So we bought some companies off of Cineplex in Canada, Outfront Media, Fox Corporation, and Fox Sports. So just to give you an example of some businesses that we acquired, basically looking at companies that were non-core to those bigger corporations. We brought them in-house and actually built around them as really our core business. So that's gotten us the foundation that we need to be, to take us to the next level, to start really creating this brand awareness for Playfly Sports, and taking us to the next level.
Wow.
You're marketing right now to a different generation.
Yeah.
And I mean, because the baby boomers, you look at wealth transfer. In the next roughly 5 years, about $83 trillion is going to transfer from the baby boomers to the millennial generation in literally the next decade.
Yeah.
And these folks have got a different mindset about what they consume, why they consume, and how they consume. How are you? And I'm really interested here because sport. They're really interested in experience rather than product. How are you actually positioning yourself, Michael, to actually address that opportunity?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's a great question. Let's take an example of one of our great partners at LSU as an example. So the LSU athletic department is one of our long-term partners. We're working with them. We help them from a perspective. We do their sports marketing. We do their sponsorship sales. We help with them with their digital platforms. We help them with all of their media production, TV, radio, etc., audio. So when you think about it, and we look at it from a perspective historically, when you think about some of the Gen X and older generations, the main experience to have with a school like LSU was either watching a game on TV or going to the stadium and having that experience. But when you think about it now, really, the first thing you do when you want to get more familiar, whether you're a recruit that's interested in LSU, whether you're just a fan anywhere in the U.S., whether you're a local in Baton Rouge, whether you're an alumni, the first thing you're going to do is go to the digital experiences, the digital platforms for that school. You're going to go to the social channels. You're going to go to the website, the mobile apps, etc. All of those are going to be your first experience. It's not going to be walking into Tiger Stadium in Death Valley down and seeing 100,000 people screaming loud. You're going to go to the website first. So one of the things we've done actually is to try to support all of our partners and to build the best digital experiences they can have. So we want the same feeling walking into Tiger Stadium with 100,000 people screaming that you have when you land on that website or you land inside of that mobile app experience. So it's really trying to create what I call the front porch or the front door experience for all of these sports organizations, whether it's a college athletic department, a pro team, and bring in that experience so they can have whoever lands on that site can have that sort of aha moment when they land and they say, I get it. I know what it's like to be a fan of the LSU Tigers. So that's one category. I just believe that that's an important focus. It's not just about everybody needs to build a website. No, you need to have an experience, a digital experience for all these new generation of fans. And then I would add one last piece to that, which is you also need to move with the changes in sports, right? If you think about what type of sports that people are interested in, you start seeing changes in sports. So you see slower paced sports like a baseball is having trouble with the younger generations. And you see faster paced sports like basketball and hockey actually having an inflow of younger people getting connected to it. So there's the pace of sports and trying to figure out how to match up those faster paced sports with the right audiences and the younger audiences. And then new sports I guess I'll use air quotes, new sports, but things like esports, when you talk about competitive video gaming, you look at opportunities to bring a whole new cast of characters. It was really, I credit it to my son, who a bunch of years ago told me that he actually liked watching other people play video games more than he liked playing them himself. And that was like this aha moment for me to be like, all right, wait a minute, something's going on here. So, and you really have to figure out how to get that category activated. Even for a college athletic department, you're going to end up having college esports, which we have inside of Playfly Sports, the largest college esports league in the country, called CSL. We have you've seen that kids coming on campus are looking for that now, right? They're when they get there, they're saying, okay, well, where's the football stadium over there? Where's the basketball stadium? The third question is, where is the esports venue? And does that college have one, right? Yes or no? So we help build out those programs, those venues. And that's another way to address the different generations, Blaine, that you were talking through, is having some of these new sports access. And I believe that over time, right, if you think about it, esports on the college campus is going to be just as valuable to the athletic department and to the university as some of the other major sports programs. It's really going to be that engaged by that age group, that 18 to 22-year-old age group, that you're going to need to have a really big esports program to support the students there.
I was a founding investor in Overactive Media, which is going public this month and building a $500 million arena after my son at 6 at the NBA championship told me more people would watch the League of Legends championship as well as sell out Oracle than would watch the NBA finals between LeBron James and Steph Curry. And being someone who considered himself fairly knowledgeable in sports, from running Lee Steinberg to having Sports One marketing for 12 years with Warren Moon, to find out that he was right and convincing me that the valuation back in 2016 was not crazy and that I wasn't going to lose all my money. Now to be, as usual, the best investment of my life came from a 6-year-old. That just goes to tell you how much we know about business as older gentlemen in the world of sports. Michael, Playfly is absolutely at the cutting edge of where everyone should at least learn about sports, let alone participate in the capture, modification, amplification, and perpetuation of sports content. I appreciate you coming on and educating us. We have playfly.com. Is there anywhere else, Michael, that people can reach out to you?
Sure. We're most of our social handles are at Playfly Sports. You can find us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Instagram. And again, we're a growing business. We got probably 30 open roles, senior to junior. So feel free to reach out to me at it's pretty simple, mike@playfly.com. I'm happy to help.
You got it. Thank you so much. We got some great candidates for you too as well. So thank you. I'll take care.
All right. All right.
From the Bahamas in the closet. We love you. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Catch you later, guys.
Take care. All right. Our last friend coming on here, Peter, and I'm going to say this hopefully correctly, Matthias. Is that right? Matisse.
Yeah.
My notes are correct. I went against my notes. My boys, congratulations, Matt. You win. Matisse.
Before we bring Peter in, I want to just acknowledge something here, David. And it's you're listening to Miles. You didn't listen to your mom.
Right. Good point. Yeah. Thank goodness for both.
There's something there about demographics that make the difference. And
well, my mom told me the internet was a fad in 1992, and I should be a real lawyer. And I told her I don't think so. I think the internet's bigger than that. And I did listen to myself on that one, but I was only 24. At 53, I got to listen to my 6-year-old better, or 11-year-old now.
Well, Peter, love having you on the show, buddy.
Yeah, wonderful to see you. It looks a little warmer than up in the Pacific Northwest. Where are you?
I'm up in I'm down in the Bahamas right now.
He's at the Conscious Business Institute, Zuma, Little Zuma, the Conscious Business. We're writing our 5th book together.
This is where board meeting, Peter.
This is the board meeting?
Yeah, this is where we're doing our board meeting next time.
Peter. Well, I'm gonna let mute for a second so we can get a little bit of background. As you are the founder and CEO of the Conscious Business Institute, obviously something aligned very closely to Blaine and I, taking business to, I think, the higher level, the higher learning level, in my opinion. I would say utilizing our higher self, our potential to understand how to make money, help people, and have fun. To me, that's what the Conscious Business Institute is about, in developing and reconciling all three of those into one. Give us a little bit of background about where you're at in the next generations of leaders and collaboration and inspiration.
Yeah, I founded the Institute in 2005 after being a venture capitalist and seeing that most companies are run in a very dysfunctional way. And if you asked people where they wanted to be, most of them said, I'd be out if I just knew a way to make money in a different way. So that wasn't very sustainable as a venture capitalist. So I quit with a purpose to finding a different way of running organizations, because I realized that it's just not sustainable anymore going forward. So I had this insight about the Conscious Business Institute, founded in 2005, and now worked with organizations all around the world. Blaine and I worked together with a company in Australia, but otherwise with large organizations, Starbucks, BMW, Morgan Stanley, those kind of companies, because they all realize now we fundamentally have to rethink the way we lead, influenced by a lot of factors, whether it's climate change, whether it's millennials having entered the workforce and asking for more purpose, or whether it's their up-and-coming leaders just realizing it's not working that way anymore, and they're asking for a different set of values. And to consolidate that together in an organization that's traditionally profit-driven is obviously a challenge for many. And to bridge that and to lead organizations there, that's what we do at Business Institute.
Peter, and Peter just mentioned that he and I have done a couple of projects together. The last one we did was in Australia. The idea of the Conscious Business Institute, and this is really an interesting predication around some of the conversation. I'm a board member of the World Business Academy, and part of the mission of the Academy is an ethos that business takes responsibility for the whole. Everything, business touches everything. It touches everything. And one of the things that I love about what the Conscious Business Institute does is it's a broad spectrum way to actually actualize that admonition about taking responsibility for the whole. How do you do that? It's easy to talk about it, but then how do you do it? And that's what Peter's, the programmatic structure that he's developed is absolutely phenomenal. And I just mentioned this in our last conversation. We've got about $82 trillion of wealth transfer coming up in the next 10 years, 15 years or so, from baby boomer into the millennial. What's interesting about that isn't necessarily the cash transfer, it's the power transfer. This is a generation that is, number one, it's a smaller numerical cohort than the baby boomer demographic. So wealth is concentrated, but they're also making decisions that are formulated around a completely different ethos. And part of that ethos has to do with purpose. How do we, what's the purpose of what we're doing? For the sake of what the business is existing? And I would be really interested, Peter, in you addressing, or at least speaking to, how the Conscious Business Institute, from a leadership development perspective, helps to answer that question.
Yeah, that purpose is a big question in itself. How much time do we have? So basically, when we speak to individuals, and whether it's CEOs in public companies, or whether it's just somebody managing a few people inside an organization, there's a reckoning for all of those that something needs to change. We have to change. But then there's this big question: how do we actually do it? How do we get from step A to step B? That's a question that I asked myself when I was sitting in my venture capital office in Munich, looking down the Maximilianstraße, one of the big roads there. And I went to all kinds of trainings, leadership trainings, yoga, all those kind of things around the world, but it was all piecemeal solutions. And so what we did is we basically put together a curriculum that gets people from point A to point B. And one part is the realization, which is really important for us, that our success stops exactly at the point where our consciousness has stopped growing. We cannot grow past our consciousness in terms of success. So we might become the CEO of a global corporation, but if our consciousness is limited in a certain way, for example, around relationships, we will experience that in some way in our life or in a ripple effect in our organizations, maybe at home with our wives. So we have to realize as leaders that if we want to grow to the next level, if we want to really create an outstanding organization, we need to start with ourselves first. We need to look at our own consciousness, where our limitations are. And secondly, if we bring that into teams, that we can only take people to where we have been before as a leader. Yeah. So if we're limited, then we're not able to take our people there. So the first thing that we do is really to look at self-leadership. And we do that in a very structured way to help people understand who they are really here to be during this lifetime. This is something that I experienced, which was probably the most transformational experience in my life. And we give that to other people to have that aha moment of, this is who I'm here to be. This is my purpose. This is what I'm needing to bring in the world. And then the question is obviously, how do we do that? What are the relationships that we need to create? How can we create healthy relationships? And what's the purpose culture that we need to create inside an organization? How do I step up as a purpose-driven leader? So we have these modules that lead people in a structured way through this path that some of us have walked and many now are wanting to walk.
Just to finish up, Peter, accountability is a big issue for me. I'm looking down the bigger brands that you work with, some listed, some not. And I find a lot of lip service and curriculum service been given to the thousands of employees, where it almost becomes like a mandate, a requirement that has no purpose or no practical implementation or accountability applied to it. In fact, a lot of hypocrisy is tied to certain things that I've seen within, conscious efforts of larger corporations who, as long as they write a check to it, they feel as if they are allowed to market the fact that, they're consciously, engaged in certain activity, even though every business practice they have is, not congruent to the check that they've written. And we see that obviously historically in tobacco companies and oil companies in particular. Historically, we see that, but I still see it today. I see a lot of companies talking the talk, but if you dig deep enough, they're just writing a check and creating curriculum with no intention of creating change or impact. Obviously, the Conscious Business Institute has a much more engaged type of philosophy. What are you doing to keep companies accountable to actually walk the walk?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I completely agree that lip service is a big thing, and which is a good example for the consciousness stopped, because right. if I don't see what's necessary, I can only go to there. A few things. The first thing is the consistency of our programs. Our programs are typically 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, so over a period of a year, which turns it into a journey. Consciousness change can happen in several ways, either like 9/11 through a hit between the eyes. That's something that we don't want to have. Or it can happen through a consistent change, like tiny habits where we get massaged in certain topics all over a period of a certain time. So we can create new neural pathways. That's what we're doing with our programs. That's one step. The second thing that we're doing is we're not going to the level of behaviors, which is usually what most programs do. Like do something different, which is a New Year's resolution. And you see that New Year's resolutions usually don't last because there's something underlying that's let's go to the gym, and then we stop in March. So we go to the level of again, consciousness of our deeper thoughts, beliefs, limiting beliefs, all those kind of things. And when we turn something at that screw, then it ripples through into all aspects of our life. And that's something that cannot be reversed. If you see a plane in the air for the first time, you cannot unsee it. You can close your eyes to it and pretend it's not there, but once you see something in a different way, you cannot unsee it. That's why this is a more profound change in our experience. Some people do not want to follow, so that happens too, but mostly that's a change. And the third area is that we are actually making it measurable. So we're currently finalizing a product where we have a real-time check where an entire organization actually stands in terms of their culture and their leadership, so that people inside the organization can see at any point in time, this is where we stand in those areas of fulfillment, of purpose, of culture, of leadership, of trust, of all these kind of things. So that as we take people through our programs, we can consistently measure, is there an improvement? And as we find an improvement, we can go back to this has caused the improvement, and we can scale that out into the organization. So it's kind of a learning system.
Well, thank you so much. Blaine, you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of the reasons that I teamed up with Peter in a couple of the projects we've had, is that there is if consciousness is one thing, and it's kind of, people think consciousness, it gets a little etheric, but then there's the cause-effect correlation. And one of the things that Peter and the Conscious Business Institute has really done well has been able to track from a metric perspective shifts in culture, shifts that produce tangible results that we could look back and say, well, it's a function of a shift in consciousness. But if we started with shifting consciousness, that's too abstract. Peter's done a really good job with the work that they're doing at the Conscious Business Institute. Yeah, that for me is a very enabling factor in being able to move business to a position where thriving is a possibility brought into reality, not just a possibility as an abstraction. And it, again, how much time do we have? I mean,
unfortunately, I can see from behind you, you don't have that much time, and I know Cam is behind you with a bottle of tequila or something.
There's a bottle of tequila floating around.
Johnny, come on.
I can see his shadow. I can see his shadow right there. Anyway,
it's good stuff. So
it's
Peter,
awesome.
Thank you very much,
Peter. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this as well, because I think those three things that you and I think encourage everyone to go back. The three things that you listed out can be utilized in everyone's company in order to execute on whatever mission it is at a higher level, a higher power of thinking. You obviously are a steward of the higher power of thinking, which we need around the world. And I'm so glad that you're participating with the biggest companies in the world. It gives me even more hope than I even had before this show. I look forward to meeting you in person. Any friend of Blaine is a friend of mine. Unfortunately, Blaine's hanging out with my friends there, having a much better time than you and I, but we'll catch up. So thanks so much, Peter.
All right. Thanks so much for your time.
Take care. Awesome. All right, my buddy. You got 1 minute takeaway of the Bahama day. What is it?
Oh, hey, I've been in the water all day today. And I keep coming back to this, David. Honest to God, I keep coming back to this. It's all about relationship. Everything is about relationship. And I don't care how you cut it or slice it or dice it. The quality of my relationships determines the experience of success that I have in my life. Period. The end. And that's what it is. Whether I'm on a reef, watching this, these fish swimming by, or I'm sitting here on this cabana, or whether I'm, we were together last week having dinner. It's the quality of the relationships. And this is what business is predicated on. Business is predicated on relationship. And if we're not paying attention to the quality of the relationships, everything is connected. Everything is connected. And if we're not looking to those connections and nurturing and giving sustenance to those connections, we miss the boat.
No pun intended. We're not going to miss the boat, because I have just so much love for you and our relationship. And this show is about relationships, and we can bring that connectivity closer for everyone. My takeaway real quickly, because it was such a diverse group, from the chief cookie officer to play-by sports, which, it was like the three realms of my complete passion: food, sports, and conscious, talk and business, right? would like to say, kind of my takeaway for the day is to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. All three, whether it's the cookie that we do, color my cookie, whether it's play sports, fly, play fly sports, or whether it's the Conscious Business Institute, they all actually aggregate and accumulate that connectivity between creating abundance or making a lot of money, the currency of this world, having and helping a lot of people, that relationship that you are talking about, and not taking ourselves so seriously. I'm looking at you, and the takeaway, it's like, hey, we got to have fun, and we still can learn, and we can teach people, even if we're sitting on the cabana with our dear friends. And I want to say, go have a great time. I'm going to Miles' baseball game. I want to thank everybody for joining, especially Blaine. It took a big effort to get off the boat and get him on here. So thank you so much, Blaine. I'll see you next week, my friend. Be careful. Get out. Don't get sunburned. That's all I got to say. Take care. All right.
Done deal.
Done deal. Take care. All right. Thank you, Blaine. All right, everyone. Real quick. Unbelievable episode. Not what you expected. We'll get anything here. Maddie Bat. Anything here on Office Hours. We have everything coming at you. Tomorrow's our big day. It's Friday. That means we got a Office Hours. We have with Mike Mamula and Dave Marino. We have Clubhouse at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Takeaways of the day. So everyone join me. Give me the takeaways of the week. Their best lesson that they learned, so we all can learn and pay the dummy tax together. And of course, training, which is on the Go No Go plan. So the Go No Go plan training is tomorrow. Check out the playbook. It has everything on it. LinkedIn, iTunes, Apple, iTunes, Google, everywhere. Spotify, it's featured. The playbook, download it, save it. Everyone, if you need me, it's david@dmeltzer.com. Books, guides, exercises, all for free. david@dmeltzer.com. My text community has been screening all the way through this thing. And most importantly, if I don't see you later, which I better see you tomorrow somewhere, I got so much going on. Remember, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours. I'm Dave Meltzer, author, speaker, entrepreneur. Office Hours is a show with entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And we're going to dive deep into the mindset of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, how to start, how to scale, and how to exit. We're going to talk to the celebrities, the athletes, the entertainers, the billionaires, all who want to be or are entrepreneurs. And we're going to find out what it takes to have that desire that you must be what you can be, to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And we're going to get inside the mindset of the entrepreneur.
You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
We can handle hard, but it's long that bothers us. I really encourage every entrepreneur to think hard and smart, but I really give a lot of weight to an entrepreneur that works long.
I don't want to be exclusive. I don't want to create a product that's only for one person. I want it to be for everyone.
I think the beauty of a values-based approach to business is that it sets a compass in place that you can follow, whether you're dealing with a COVID, a pandemic, an economy, social unrest, or a roaring economy.
The best investment you have to make is to bet on yourself. And that's exactly what you're saying. And that's emotionally, that could be monetarily, that could be time. There's so many different, that could be giving.
The one consistent thing about them and everybody here is that just like every good house, they've got a strong foundation of core values and work ethic, right? Every last one of them spoke about the things that shaped them, and they still implement those things no matter when they jump from here to here to here, they're still doing the same things that got them to the first place.
I still remember when we bought YouTube, and it seemed like we're going to pay billions of dollars for this company that has no revenue and not even a plan to get revenue. But now it's a key part of the Alphabet strategy.
Right, a rising tide lifts all ships, and that's what's happening here. You create that elevated frequency, that elevated energy that everyone benefits from.
If you appreciate what we all are the same, it allows us to appreciate how different we are. And I say appreciate the differences. And I think that separation that exists today is something that we all need to work on, because together we'll go far. Come join me inside the greatest minds of entrepreneurship here on Office Hours.